Turn the light on. Get more light. Come more light.
That's good enough, man.
No, it was too dark. And move the light closer to him on this side. Just pull it back. There you go. There you go. All right.
When you want, I guess.
No, let's start already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we can practice well.
All right.
Okay? Okay. Greetings, Mr. Hinds. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here in Italy, in Alessandria. And just a few questions for you and for your band, Steel Pulse. What does it mean for you to be considered one of the 100 most famous band in the world?
100 most famous band in the world?
Yeah.
Is that on record?
Yeah.
Because if it is, I feel honored.
Yeah.
The whole band feels honored, as a matter of fact. I mean, that's like a legacy in itself.
Yeah. Okay. How do you decide the name Steel Pulse?
The name actually came from one of the original members of the band, who used to back a lot of horses, used to bet on horses a lot. And we came through and went through a lot of names, and Steel Pulse became the most suitable name, and that came from a racehorse.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What is for you reggae music? Why do you choose this specific kind of music in front of others?
Reggae music is really music from our origins. You know, it originated out of Jamaican people. I'm of Jamaican heritage. We use the music as a vehicle to voice our opinions on life. You know, whether it's political, whether it's spiritual, whether it's social, whether it's just for entertainment's sake. I mean, reggae music has now become the vehicle for expressing ourselves. But because we're a political band, we use our politics within that music format.
Okay, yes. Tell us about the challenges you have faced in your career, the sacrifices, and what were the most beautiful satisfactions?
There's been many sacrifices. One of the biggest sacrifices of all has been to be separate from your family. I mean, I've been personally in a lot of relationships that I've had that came to an end because of my musical commitments, you know, i.e. touring or recording schedules. So that's been the biggest sacrifice, I think. Another sacrifice is, well, I say from the family, and well, not being able to raise your children, being there 24 hours a day like your regular mother and father would, because we're on the road, so it's pretty hard. You know, and thank God for the internet. We're able to on Skype and I say, hey son, hey daughter, you can do this, you can do that. Or send it by email, I can do your homework for you. So, you know, there is that difference. But those have been the greatest sacrifices.
Yeah. And how the idea to wear specific dress to get on before a show? We saw specifically for Handworth Revolution, you know, a particular dress before
dress.
Wear
well
something.
in the past we used to be very much diverse in the kind of costumes we were wearing, you know, to go on stage. You know, I myself at one point used to be in a tails suit with a, you know, taking a mock at the system by wearing a baseball cap at the same time, and then I transformed into wearing, you know, a prison uniform, you know, the one with the arrows. And then I also transformed into like a court jester, which is someone who, back in the days, in medieval times, where someone was there that made fun at the king. And it was the only person that the king allowed to make fun with, and he didn't want to execute or behead.
Okay.
So, you know, I've been through those kind of costumes. But in the past, we used to wear a lot of costumes, which was like taking different walks of life and expressing them on stage, and it was usually between being bureaucratic or being outright militant, and that's where the costumes were become diverse. And we often donned the Ku Klux Klan hoods when we did songs like Ku Klux Klan, but all that kind of trimmings and trappings we no longer wear to the extent that we do, but we still wear traditional African costumes or something that matches, you know, to go out there and still look presentable, because we still think dressing in some kind of outfit or some kind of matching type of clothing is essential. It still gives the public that feeling that they're still looking at their icons, their idols, their you know, who they've loved in all their lives. They're still looking and they're still different from what they are, as if they were standing next to them within the audience.
And you are here to celebrate and perform your first album. Tell us what happened in those days and how did you find the inspiration for this masterpiece?
Well, in those days, there was a lot of things happening in England at the time when the album was actually in the makings. You know, one of the things was that during the times of, say, Thatcherism, or just before Thatcherism, which was Thatcher was the Prime Minister of England around that time, and before her was Ted Heath and Harold Wilson. But during those times, there was always been a sort of racial conflict, so to speak, between the ethnic minorities like ourselves living in England versus those that were coming from working class backgrounds and had a lot of racial tension within them against people from like ourselves living in England. So it was always a racism thing going on with the National Front, for example, versus blacks and Asians that were living in pockets of communities throughout England. So that's how it was, that kind of climate. And then on top of that, you know, there was not much work as well. You know, prior to me leaving school, you know, work was hard to get by, especially amongst those. I mean, there was a miners' strike, there was all kinds of strike happening, teachers' strike, hospital strike, you name it. Everything was striking on top of unemployment. So with all that kind of thing happening in England, and on top of police harassment, where police were always, you know, coming and trying to make things even more difficult for us to survive, that brought about the climate and brought about the messages of Handworth Revolution. And now we're here, 360 degrees, 40 years later, might I add, that you know, it's our 40th anniversary, and we're going to be, although the album was actually released 3 years after we actually started as a band, we still have it as our first works, and we shall be performing it here tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
And it's different. It was certain things that we played many years ago. It was done in the studio, and it was left in the studio. Now we got to say, how did we play that chord? What was that? How did we do that guitar lick? Or, wow, did I play that 40 years ago? Things like that. And in all honesty, I've taken on different roles as a musician, where I've concentrated a lot more on singing than playing and singing. That I sort of, in some ways, I've sort of changed a few of the guitar licks that I had, just to accommodate what I'm capable of doing now. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. We've been doing, this is probably about our 5th show since we started this mini tour. And we realized that doing the songs in the order of the album doesn't necessarily come over stage-wise. So we're going to change the running order of the songs up, because it is live and direct. So we want to give a different type of energy. And to be honest with you, only because places like Italy have requested it, and there's France who's requested the Handworth Revolution to be played in its entirety. We're going to do it in its entirety. But once we get to the US, who's already familiar with so many other songs, I think we're going to be doing a couple of Handworth Revolution, a couple of other songs, and mix and bob and weave, you know, because I still got an injury for my shoulder. I got to still come out. And the longer I have the guitar on myself, the more it's difficult for me to perform. So that's another reason why it's going to be like a whole treat, or a whole experience in itself, playing the song in its entirety, because I'll be having the guitar on for that entire duration. It's hard work now.
Yes, and what was your experience with Bob Marley? Talk about him, how you know him, and what he gave to you for your music.
We met Bob while we were recording the Handworth Revolution album.
Okay.
In the, I would say probably the winter the winter of 1978.
Yeah.
We met him at Island Records.
Okay.
He was introduced to us by a man who was managing Rico, the trombone player Rico at the time. I think his name was Leslie Palmer. And we went on within 4 or 5 months of meeting Bob to actually go on tour with him in Europe. One of the dates we did in England, there was 2 in France and 2 in Holland. So we had the opportunity to do 5 dates with him. And it was an interesting experience, and it was an experience that came right on time, because it showed us how to conduct ourselves professionally on stage. Seeing the man himself at work.
And have you ever performed strongly in Africa?
Strongly?
In Africa?
We performed in Africa. Our very first performance is 1982.
Okay.
It was a weird experience in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And then we went on to do performances, by the time we got to the 90s, because, from Nigeria in 82 up until the 90s, we never really ventured in Africa until the late 90s. And then from then on, we started hit Africa 2-3 times a year. We were there about 14 months ago in Nigeria again. It was our first time back in Nigeria for about almost 30 years, well, over 30 years. So that was interesting. But we've hit Nigeria, myself personally, Gambia, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. Have I left any place out?
Also Morocco?
Morocco,
Yeah.
that's right. Why could I forget Morocco?
Yeah.
That was interesting too.
And what feedback from the African people?
The feedback has always been positive. They give us that sense that we've come home, and we're, that we lost brothers and sisters that they've all found.
Yeah.
So we love that kind of feeling, and we love to still be attached to the continent, because the continent has so much power, especially when you're there on the soil, vibing with the people. It's a lot different than vibing with Africans out here in Europe. Once you're there on the continent, it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
The experience is a lot more, I'd say, potent, organic, natural, real, authentic. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. The last question, and then we finished. What would you say to the young generation who come to reggae? Which approach would you recommend?
The young generation that comes to reggae music got to bear in mind that the old generation, many of the older generation, never went to reggae music. They went to all kind of diverse styles of music that was never really about racial harmony. This is what the reggae music has as a difference between the other genres of music. Reggae music is all about racial harmony. It's all about chanting down Babylon, saying, look, it's not each other that are enemies. It's a system that has been set, whether you live in Italy, England, United States, any part of Europe or any part of South America. It's a system that is making us war against each other. Let's put it right and let's do something about it. And don't think for one moment. You use that there. Don't think for one moment because you're young and you probably lack inexperience as far as world affairs and politics. Bullshit comes in so many disguises, but you cannot really deny it, or you cannot play a blind eye to it if you want to deal with truth and rights. And if you want to deal with truth and rights, be part of the program. They say sticks in a bungle is unbreakable. So the more you unite, the more you can get together and put away the negativity in a system. I'm not saying go out there and throw sticks and stones and smash your backyard up or your neighborhood up. I'm saying go out there and get yourself educated and get yourself going through a lot of legal channels as well as other channels to make laws and systems that have suppressed and repressed people for many centuries. Try and turn those negativities around and put it right, because there is room for everybody on this planet. Don't let the system fool you.
Yes, and last, your album why Handworth Revolution, in fact, it's so actual till today. So the themes, the lyrics, and the songs are themes that today we have problem with these things.
Yeah.
And why do you think in 40 years this album you bring a lot of
Nothing changed.
No,
something like that. I don't
like
know
Fabio
really to
says,
explain,
nothing has changed.
So
What has changed, if there's going to be any changes, is that people are realizing now that they've got more potency, more relevance to their existence than what they've been led to believe in the past. Now, thanks to the world of the internet, you can see me, and it's all because of the internet. And you don't have to be going through the paying tons of money to see and experience what we're about anymore. There's no record labels to go through as it was in the past, and all that kind of bureaucracy that, stifle you for thousands of pounds and thousands of liras or euros as you use today just to get an album. There's all kinds of ways to get, steel pulse on your doorstep. It doesn't have to be, we're not as popular as we used to be as when we first started out in England. So, you won't find us on TV as often as, say, Beyonce or John Legend. But we can still be at your fingertips on the internet. And that's the powerful thing about things that have changed, that you can utilize this equipment and make differences. Hey, look how many countries have liberated themselves from certain things over the past few years. Because people have realized that, one man can feel the vibes of another man millions of miles away and have never met the person, all because of the internet. So you can make a difference and you can make a change and relate to other people that you don't even know. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Yeah. Thank you, and see you tomorrow for this special show. Peace, respect.
Revolution, Handworth Revolution, a revolution. Yeah.
Thank you.